You actually dropped your purpose. You thought, hey, I knew what my purpose in life was. Why am I not doing the stuff that brings me closer to my purpose in life? How many of you have ever felt that way?
Yeah, all the time.
Absolutely. Even if you know what your purpose is. Okay, how many of you know what your purpose is? Absolutely know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes? How many? How many not?
Question it. sometimes.
Question.
Yeah.
The question is because we use purpose, but we use the word, but do we really know what it means? So it's interesting that we were going to have this talk on purpose because all of a sudden, when I become aware of purpose, all this stuff starts coming in. And I don't know if you watched Super Soul Sunday this morning with Oprah, but it was Paulo Coelho. How many of you know Paulo Coelho? He's a famous writer. He's from Brazil.
Is he for agreement?
No, that's Miguel Ruiz.
No, that's right.
Paulo Coelho is from Brazil, and he wrote The Alchemist. Yes? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
If you haven't read The Alchemist, read The Alchemist. It's not a very long book. It's about this long, like this thick. And it's about Santiago, and Santiago is a shepherd. And he has this flock of sheep, and he starts questioning, you know, what am I doing, you know, this, that, and the other. So then he goes on a long journey to find, you know, what it is that he's supposed to be doing. Is he supposed to be a shepherd or not? And he goes on this long journey, and he ends up back where he started. And of course, the moral of the story is that you don't have to go in search of your purpose. Your purpose is within you. Now, does that ring true to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and we do that all the time. I think that as children, we know what our purpose in life is. I really do. And like Eckhart Tolle says, because a child is present. They're present in the moment. And I believe that when you come into this world, you already know what it is that you're supposed to be doing here. However, as you grow up, as you go to school, as you listen to your parents, as you listen to your religious teachers, as you listen to everyone, you think, oh, wait a minute, what was that? And you forget. And your journey in life is, again, trying to get back to your heart and trying to find out what it was that you were here for to begin with. How many of you feel that is true? Yeah. So I don't think that we have to do all this grand stuff around purpose, but just be with the purpose. And okay, now how many of you think that passion and purpose is the same thing?
I think you have to have
You
it.
have to have a purpose to become passionate, but you can be passionate about things that really don't have a purpose.
That don't have purpose. Okay. Maybe. I tend to think that they're pretty much
One
equal.
and the same.
Yes.
Yeah, that they're pretty much equal. Because when you go and search for your purpose, what do? You go back to the things that you love. But it may be that you're not, you know, what are you passionate about? What is it that you love to do? We'll do an exercise later. And then sometimes it's not, because sometimes you might be passionate about something and really enjoy something, but it doesn't really bring you that emotional and spiritual fulfillment. Right? It could be like there's a difference, right? There's a difference between maybe the physical enjoyment and passion and the emotional and spiritual passion. Something to think about. Right? I mean, we could be passionate at something that is really not very good for us, like food.
Yes.
You know, like bad food. Not good food is not good for you. You know, as an example, or there's lots of other examples. But the whole thing about passion is just to be with it, to see. I had an experience this week that was just amazing. I interviewed someone for book 3, because we still have a couple of places in book 3. Well, we don't anymore, but. And I met this lady who came to our book launch, and she was brought to the book launch by Brock Tully, and I knew that she was amazing, and she told me, Brock said that I had to be in book 3. I said, okay. She said, and I do what Brock tells me. I said, okay. So we got together for tea. Well, I didn't know who I was speaking to because I never looked her up. And she's amazing. She's a monk. She walked with Eckhart Tolle for a year on the beach. She went with Eckhart Tolle all around the world on all his speaking engagements when he was first coming up. She's just an amazing woman. And then Eckhart Tolle, when they came back from one of those trips, said, "You're on your own now. It's your turn."
Wow.
And she had to go in search of her own purpose. And she
Can we
ended up
know
in
her name?
Thailand for 4 years and became a monk.
Can we know her name?
May Tawi.
What was it?
May Tawi. And I mean, I sat and spoke with her for an hour and a half, and I was just amazed at who this person was. And so, you know, hopefully, but this was a person that she went every minute, right? And it was interesting that you brought up Eckhart Tolle because that's, and imagine, how often have we heard about Eckhart Tolle lately? Often? Not
Yeah.
often? He
All the
comes and
time.
goes, right?
Yeah.
But right now, he's like really in our circle of influence.
Yeah.
So very cool, and it's all about being open. I mean, I had no idea who this woman was, but I thought, wow, here's a person that is living her dream, her purpose. Right? And if you're ever lost and you ever think, well, hey, you know, I thought my purpose was such and such, and it didn't turn out. Well, maybe that was just an inkling. Maybe that was just part of the bigger picture, the bigger spiritual purpose. Maybe it was just a part of it, and you needed to go through that to be able to get to the bigger purpose. Because I think there are different sizes of purpose, right? A purpose in somebody's life could be, for example, to be a mother. That could be the purpose for that time, right? And then it's to do the work. It could be work. Then there's a purpose there. It just doesn't have to be one purpose. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Do you agree?
Yep.
Yeah. So what are we in search of, ultimately?
Why we're here, what we're here for.
Yeah. So that's I would say, I would qualify that purpose as more of a spiritual purpose. Yes? Would that be a good word for it? A
Yes.
spiritual purpose? That's the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture for you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a big purpose. It can be a small purpose, or what we consider a small purpose, but it's big in your life. Because many times people say, oh my God, why am I here? You know, what's my purpose? And you think that it's, you know, to go and change the world. Yeah, it could be for some of us, it could be go and change the world, but for others, it could be just making the person in front of me feel valued or worthy. It could be just taking my child to school and making sure that he's on time. It doesn't have to be something grand, but it is grand in your life. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to do a little exercise because you know me, I like to do exercises. And I think that we all feel in a safe environment here, do we? Does everybody feel safe with everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're going to do is actually go in. And we're going to do the active imagination exercise. Do you remember from my book, Active Imagination? The active imagination is an exercise that was put together by the psychologist, whose name just went, what's his name? Carl Jung, remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, Carl Jung. And it's where you actually have a conversation with the person within you or the entity or whatever that knows what your purpose is.
So your higher self?
Could be your higher self. How many of you think that something or someone knows your purpose? Right.
Yeah.
Whatever you name it. Could be higher self, could be God, it could be you know, the universe, it could be a muffin, it could be whatever. But yeah, so everybody think that you have a person like that? Or a part? How many of you think that we have different parts in our psyche?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we have the wounded child. Have you heard of the wounded child? We have the critic. Remember the critic? Anybody have a critic here?
Oh,
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's loud.
The critic.
Yeah.
We have the supporter. We have all kinds of different parts, and they all go like this, right? Well, maybe there's a part, maybe the wounded child, maybe the child knows what your purpose is. So
Oh.
I want you to choose two. Let's give some paper. And this is for you, and if you want to share later, you can share. It's up to you. But I want you to first write. I dropped that. I'll come back for it.
I'm glad you got paper that matched my top.
Was it all night planning? Oh, there's no more pens? So,
We have to pick.
just
Hard
write
person.
down, just take, close your eyes for a minute and just think, who is it that I'm going to connect with that knows my purpose?